Hi, in this video I want to talk about some of the world's most influential animation directors or the studio they belong to and compare their themes, styles and stories to give an understanding to what makes each special and unique. I will be focusing on an American studio, British studio and a Japanese studio to cover a wide range from all around the world. These will be in the form of Pixar, Aardman and Studio Ghibli. I will start with Aardman as it's a studio I had the first exposure to in the form of Wallace and Gromit. Wallace and Gromit was created by Nick Park, who based the story around his own experiences. Wallace, for example, was inspired by Nick Park's dad.
But my dad was very similar to Wallace,
as he would often spend time in his shed creating strange inventions and was also an energetic and eccentric man. The rocket, in the first short film, A Grand Day Out, is based off of a caravan Nick Park's dad spent a lot of time working on, going to the effort of adding a carpet and wallpaper for their bank holiday trips. This makes Wallace and Gromit stand out as British icons, as they are very British, but not in a stereotypical way that would be used to make fun of ourselves, but instead in a very common and relatable way, which connects to British audiences and comes off as funny, non-serious British humour. This makes Wallace and Gromit really popular in the UK, as many of us have wondered what to do with our own bank holidays, even if most of us don't end up deciding to go to the moon in a caravan like rocket to see what the moon's cheese tastes like on crackers. But it's due to this British humour that helps Wallace and Gromit become popular in other countries, as you wouldn't see this type of story come out of America, or France, or Japan, or anywhere else, only from the UK. Comparing Aardman's cheese-loving creation to Asia, and we get Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli is the biggest and most well-known animation studio in Japan, recognisable in Japan, but also overseas. Just like Nick Park, Hayao Miyazaki is a key pillar to his respective studio, Studio Ghibli. So many of his key themes, messages and styles are seen in all of Ghibli's films, even the films created by other directors in Studio Ghibli, like the co-founder Isao Takahata. Hayao Miyazaki was born during World War II in Japan, giving him a unique view on the world, as his country was heavily destroyed and damaged in the war, making him care more about things a lot of us take for granted. This is evident in his films, with the themes he and fellow Ghibli directors use, like the anti-war messages seen in Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, Grave of the Fireflies, and Princess Mononoke. His messages of nature, and how we should care for it, seen again in Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, Princess Mononoke, but also My Neighbor Totoro, and also his love for planes, aircraft, and flying, seen in, well, all of them. This, as stated, is due to his post-war experience where he grew up with a countryside badly destroyed by war and not wanting events to repeat themselves. This gives Miyazaki a pessimistic view of the world, failing to see modern events in a good light, but doesn't fail to try and show children an optimistic and hopeful world in his films. This is shown with his bright and cheery characters and stories that include the young protagonists that feel and act like real children, displaying the same fears and obstacles that a real-world child can relate to, while adults can look back at their childhood experiences and also relate. This is seen in Spirited Away, where Miyazaki specifically wanted to make a film for 10-year-old girls, as he had never done that before. This is evident, as the main character, Chihiro, is a 10-year-old girl who starts out as a bright, lazy kid that has to step up to save her parents in a magical spirit world. She doesn't suddenly become a hero, she has to earn it by growing and maturing in a strange world where she doesn't know the rules and logic. This makes her seem like a real person. Children are also the main focus of My Neighbor Totoro, being one of the main themes of the film. The film's message is to show kids that it is alright to embrace their childhood and be kids, which is brought through thanks to Totoro. Totoro only appears 3 times in the film, one of which being this hilarious bus stop scene. But each time he appears in front of the 2 protagonists, it is to tell them to be children. The first time is to Mei, who was previously acting like an adult while playing. The second time is to both of the sisters at the bus stop when they are afraid their father may not be coming home, so Totoro makes them laugh and smile so they don't have to worry about adult problems. And finally, he appears to Sotsuke when she fails to find her lost sister. She tries to handle the problem in a way that an adult would handle it, but when this doesn't work, she reverts to childish ideas, like relying on a potentially imaginary spirit friend in the woods to find her. This works, as Totoro easily tracks down Mei with his cat bus, further enforcing the idea that the kids' belief in childish ideas of fun and imagination can save the day, and it is also telling us it's important for kids to be kids. Studio Ghibli's films are all child-friendly, but are usually deeper and more serious than animated films aimed for kids and families in the West. Pixar is a good example of this, having much happier themes that more easily connect with not just children, but adults watching too. Pixar, however, does not have one key director that is the main influence to the studio. instead hiring a different director per film, giving a wider range of stories and ideas. This does not mean there isn't any common themes throughout Pixar's films, as there are a few.
Beak!
Hi there.
One of the main themes, besides the previously mentioned family-friendly tone, is the idea of animals or objects having feelings. This is seen where toys have feelings, bugs have feelings, fish have feelings, cars have feelings, monsters have feelings, and feelings have feelings. This is done because the idea itself is pretty simple to base a story off, as you can do lots with the idea. There have been 3, soon to be 4 Toy Story films, because what toys get up to alone has infinite potential. There has been 2 Monsters Inc. and Nemo films, because there is a lot you can tell in a society of monsters in the deep blue sea. And finally, 3 Cars films, because Disney likes money. These all lead to very goal-driven narratives in Pixar films, where there is always a specific aim the characters need to achieve. And it makes sense. Pixar is an American studio, so its narrative structure follows a Hollywood format of having a set world that is disrupted by a problem that the characters have to fix. In Toy Story, for example, we have a world full of toys that live happily when they all get played with by Andy, but on his birthday he gets a new favourite toy, Buzz Lightyear, who changes the dynamic as Woody has to deal with the fact he may not be Andy's favourite toy anymore. While this happens, Buzz Lightyear is convinced he is a real space ranger, making the 2 toys fight, causing the 2 eventually being left behind at a pizza restaurant, as a result, kidnapped by the toy-abusing kid named Sid. Goals of the characters are to get home to Andy and escape Sid's house, while Buzz deals with the existential crisis of discovering he is a toy. Obviously they succeed, but this shows us we have the familiar formula. We have the world where toys are alive, disrupted by Buzz's arrival to the group, and then the goal of returning home appears when they are left behind. This couldn't be more different to Aardman and Studio Ghibli. In Wallace and Gromit, the duo decide to go to the moon because it is a bank holiday and they are all out of cheese, which takes place in the first few minutes, setting up the plot and goal from the start of the film. My Neighbor Totoro is even more different, where there is no real goal for the characters to overcome on a surface level, until the end where May goes missing, but again, this is towards the end of the film. This is perhaps due to the culture of the UK, where we have silly, fun and ridiculous stories. In Japan, stories are more thematic, giving several messages while having an entertaining story. In conclusion, Aardman, Studio Ghibli and Pixar are all very different, with unique stories and themes present in their films as a result from their director's influence or their culture, but all manage to be family friendly and appeal to a wide range of audiences. The end.